We're going to begin a series this morning that I've entitled The Building Blocks of Life. I guess you call it the foundations of life or theology for life. But I decided to call it The Building Blocks of Life. The series will include looking into areas such as who am I, where did I come from, how did the world get so messed up, how can we fix it, how should I live as a result. We're looking at giving you a set of beliefs to cope with life, a set of beliefs to understand life, a set of beliefs to succeed in life, and a set of beliefs to make a difference in life. But in order to kind of introduce the whole subject area, because this will be a fairly big series, the first topic, I suppose, for today's discussion is this. Why does it matter what I believe? That's the first heading. Why does it matter what you believe? Proverbs 4:23 says this: guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Now the heart in the Old Testament was really our CPU. That's what they would mean by heart in the Old Testament. Central processing unit. The heart would refer to everything about us. What makes us, what shapes us. Our mind, our emotions. Everything is in the heart. So what goes into the heart and what comes out of the heart is what makes us human. That would be the sort of the Old Testament definition of the heart. Guard that heart, the proverb says, above all else. Why? Because it determines the course of your life. It'll shape your life. I guess another way of phrasing that sentence would be to say, your life is shaped by your thoughts. Your life is going to be shaped, what your life will look like, your life is shaped by your thoughts. That's why we ask the question, why does it matter what you believe? There's a picture of a gentleman which will come up on the screen now in front of you. That gentleman's name is Saeed, can I remember this surname? Qutb. Saeed Qutb. And I would imagine none of you have ever seen his face before or have heard of that man. He's been dead now for 40 years. He was executed in August 1966 by the Egyptian government. He was a Muslim radical, used to be part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and he hated Western society and Western ideas and principles. He went to America and had that reinforced, hated the way the Americans lived, hated the way the women portrayed themselves in America and so on. He became a very influential man in the Muslim world. So much so that the Egyptian government executed him because they felt that he was plotting an overthrow of the Egyptian government at the time. But they executed him not before he was able to produce much literature that was really influential. Saeed, whatever his name was again, Saeed Qutb had a brother who was influenced by his brother Saeed. His brother's name was Muhammad Qutb. And Muhammad then fled from Egypt to Saudi Arabia and had a job as a professor in a Saudi Arabian university. In that university, Muhammad Qutb had a star pupil. Do you know where I'm heading with this? So Saeed, who was the guy who started, who you never heard of, you've never seen his face before, 40 years ago he was executed, had a brother who was passed on his beliefs and ideals to. His name was Muhammad Qutb. He had a star pupil back in Saudi Arabian university whose name was Osama bin Laden. As a consequence of that man, and particularly September the 11th, you and I and the rest of the world have been influenced. Thousands died that day, thousands upon thousands have died subsequently, and our whole society now has been affected, possibly as a result initially of this guy, because it really matters what you believe. Really does. Your thoughts shape the whole of your life. We all have a worldview. Another way of describing the beliefs which we base our life on is by just calling it a world view. I want you to try and discover for yourselves over the next few weeks what your worldview is. Some of you would probably say, I don't have a worldview. If I were to get you in front and say to you, what's your worldview? You would perhaps say, I don't know what worldview is, and I don't have one. Some of you may say, well, I've got a bit of a worldview, but I'm not really sure exactly what it is. Some of you would be able to elaborate in quite a lot of detail what your worldview is. But your worldview is basically a set of beliefs which you base your life on. All of us have a worldview. Every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. That worldview will affect your relationships, how you act in your relationships. It will affect the way in which you react to and cope with suffering. It will affect how you see your past, your present, and your future. It will affect what you think about money, about work, about God, about good, about evil, about the environment, about education, about your personal appearance. It affects absolutely everything in your life. And God has kind of hardwired us so that every time we're confronted with a decision in life or a choice to make, instantly we will access our database of our worldview, of all the beliefs we have, in order to make the decision and in order to behave according to our beliefs. That's why God has hardwired us in a particular way. If I kind of can illustrate the process of what would happen by kind of using a more crude, more mechanical view of perhaps how the human body might have worked if we were a piece of machinery. So it would probably work, just to explain the process, like this. Someone comes along and they annoy you. So instantly what happens is, this feeling of annoyance gets into your system, and this mechanical arm then goes into this room called Neil's database of beliefs, my worldview room. And this mechanical arm then searches through a whole lot of tapes with all kinds of titles until it finds the title, How to React to Someone Who Annoys You. And then the mechanical arm picks this tape up, puts it into a little player, and that player plays to me, and I know, oh, based on that belief, this is how I'm going to react to that person who's annoyed me. That's a kind of a crude and a slow way of understanding the process. But that's basically how we work. Every time we're confronted with any decision, whether huge or small, God has hardwired us so that we access our database of beliefs, and then we act in accordance with those beliefs. I'm going to give you a crucial sentence you need to get hold of. What you believe affects how you behave, and how you behave affects what you become. What you believe affects how you behave. You can see that. What you believe, I've just been saying that, what you believe affects how you're going to act, how you're going to behave. And the crucial part is, how you behave will affect what you become. Now, I would imagine each one of us here want to become, if we're Christians, a better Christian, more like Jesus Christ. Each of us want to become people who are well-rounded, whole people who are able to respond to any situation in life. We want to become people who make a difference for good in life rather than evil. Thinking back, in order for that to happen, in order for us to behave in a way that affects positively what we become, we need to make sure that what we believe is really helpful and good and accurate and true. Because what we believe affects how we behave, and how we believe affects what we become. When you become a Christian, what happens is the Bible says you become a new creation. So your soul, which is previously dead in sin, the Bible says, becomes alive, becomes a brand new creation. The old is gone, everything's become new. But there are still two other factors in your life. Not only are you a brand new person now in your soul, but you're in a body which is sinful. The Bible calls it the sinful nature or the flesh. That one's just for you, Phil. But it's either the sinful nature or the flesh. That's one factor. But the second factor is, we're full of all these old tapes from our past, things that have been fed to us, things that society has fed to us, things that television has given to us, things that our bad or good role models have put there in us. All our experiences, whatever they are, have filled us with all these kind of tapes. Many of these tapes are not good. So what we need to do in life is we need to get rid of those bad tapes, all those bad beliefs, erase them, and instead replace them with some very useful and good tapes. We'll get to that in a minute.